Dr. Clement Adams, officer in charge of UNICEF Chief of Maiduguri Field Office, joins us now from our Borno studios to discuss more on the humanitarian efforts of UNICEF in the state. Thank you very much for joining us on the program.
Good afternoon, and good afternoon to your esteemed listeners.
So what will be the impression of the humanitarian situation in Borno State as we speak? Your impression of that?
Oh, my impression is that a lot of has been done. A lot of efforts have been put in by the humanitarian actors across all agencies. A lot is also being done from the government part of it. However, a lot more remains to be done. As we speak, we are confronted with a number of issues. One of them is the issue of food insecurity, which is leading to a number of high malnutrition cases, as well as we are confronted with outbreaks of cholera that we are kind of battling with. So there are always challenges that we do face, but these challenges are surmountable if we all come together to work together for the good of the people.
Let's dig into figures now. How many people are displaced? How many of them are in dire need of help, like for shelter, food, clothing, medicals, and other things?
Our estimates show for the entirety, like you heard, FUN has spoken previously in this is about 6.4 million people. For health, we are dealing with somewhere about 4.5 people who are in need. These numbers keep changing by the day as a number of the issues keep on coming up. So the figures are not up to date, and they keep changing as we move ahead and as we get more access to more areas as well. So the figures are not just stagnant, they keep changing, but the numbers are quite high. We're dealing in millions and over 6.4 million people who are in need of humanitarian assistance.
For those who might be wondering, just how bad is the humanitarian crisis in these affected areas?
Things have improved, I must say. There have been a lot of improvements over the years. However, there are still pockets of places that we are unable to reach our humanitarian actors. These are areas that are in much more dire need than all other places. But the situation is quite precarious, especially so in the wake of the Ukraine-Russia war, in the wake of the economic crisis that we are facing globally. So we are facing a number of inadequate funding situation, and once you face inadequate funding situation, it goes to affect the services that are able to render to these people, and thereby worsening the situation in which we have. As we said, a number of the agencies and a number of NGOs and the UN agencies are all facing funding constraints, which is being occasioned by a number of issues. Priorities have changed. Donors are putting money into other areas. The Ukraine-Russia war has kind of worsened it. With the current fuel and inflation, other issues, all affects the services that we give and affects the livelihood of the people, thereby making things a little bit more difficult. So if you compare over the years, we made progress. If you compare last year as to this year we seem to be going back a little bit as we compare to last year. But we do have hopes that we should be able to all come together, talk to our donors and talk to all partners to be able to come aboard to see how best we can all respond to the needs of the people.
Now, if the situation appears to be long-term, as we have seen, unfortunately, it looks like it's a new normal now while it lasts, is there a plan at least to educate the children for the sake of their future?
Education is a core front of it, and for us as UNICEF, that's one of the major areas in which we intervene in. For anything else, education must be a right for everybody and every child. And that is one of the things that we try to make sure that education is at the forefront of it. As we sit and we're talking, UNICEF is building over 500 schools across Yobe, Borno, and Adamawa to ensure children are back to school. We try to do this in various forms just to ensure that we do make sure that children are all back to school, including ensuring that those who are attending the Sangaya schools are also are not left out and also benefit from some of the normal educational system. So that is one of the things that UNICEF is doing much more at the core front of all the things that we do. Our efforts 100% no. There are still more to be done, and there's still more that needs to be done. There are still areas that we are unable to reach. And so there are more needs that needs to be met as well. But these are areas that we are trying to ensure that education is a right and every child that is of school-going age is in school. And we are working with all stakeholders from government to NGOs to civil society and all stakeholders to ensure that education remains the top of all the agenda of all that we do.
And talking about government now, let's talk about government at all levels. Do you think they're doing enough to manage the situation and even reverse this trend?
One of the things that we need to be very clear to ourselves is that the enormity of the situation that we confront us is such that there is no one single agency or no one single person or one single entity that will be able to respond to all the things. So even government also has its own shortfalls, with funding, has its own shortfalls with staffing and all other things. So yes, government is doing their part. One of the biggest part government is playing an enabling environment that allows people to be here, to be able to work. And that's a very major contribution as well. And so all of us together should work together to see how best we are able to address the situation, because no one agency or no one government institution will be able to respond to all the needs, because it's quite massive. It's been 13 years since this has been on, and so it requires the synergistic efforts of everybody to ensure that we respond to the needs of the people. And so yes, government is doing their part and all other people are doing their part, but however we need to do more. There's one thing saying people are doing their best, but the question can also be asked whether our best is the best that we can give. There's always a limit in which we can challenge ourselves and go a little bit higher. And so I think that government can go a little bit higher, all other partners can go a little bit higher. There's always room for improvement. And it's only when we put in all our best that we should be capable of responding to the needs that everybody needs. And so we all have to come together as stakeholders to ensure that we do that.
The growing insecurity challenges bedeviling the region and indeed the country is troubling and indeed a cause of concern for everyone. But how does it affect your operations, and what do you see in the future, or something that can help at least the UNICEF as it continues its humanitarian services in the country?
Thank you very much. That is one of the major hindrances to the services that we render to people. If you do not have access to people, you will not be able to provide the services that they need. If you are not at peace of mind yourself with fear of you being abducted, you are not also being able to give out your best. So there are growing concerns of the insecurity situation. We do hope that government will, on its own part, will put in more measures to ensure that we are able to have access to all these other places, and ensuring just not having access, but ensuring that people are safe, so that then we can all work to ensure that people who go to the field to work are not going there with fear and are not able to give out their best, so that then we can all have peace and provide the services that the people require from us. So we all look up to government and the military to be able to provide that.
All right, we hope that happens. Well, that's all we all pray for. Thank you very much, Officer in Charge, UNICEF Chief of Maiduguri Field Office, Dr. Clement Adams. Thanks a lot for your time on News Across Nigeria.
Thank you very much.